Get those things that you need while you can, because you may find yourselves in a world one day where you may have all of the money that you need, but not be able to find the things that you want to buy with that money. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, this article is somewhat about lumber prices, but not really just about lumber prices. I'm going to get to that here in a minute. This article here suggests that the price of lumber is going down and that relief for home builders is on its way. However, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to caution you about is this, is to think outside the box. Think for yourselves instead of digesting word for word everything that the mainstream media puts out there for you to digest. And I'm going to get to that here in a second. It says here, earlier this month, we told readers that lumber price slump as historic boom hits a wall, as sawmills were catching up with the flurry of demand from North American home builders amid supply chain issues, which created massive constraints which propelled lumber prices to record highs. Now right here, what they're pretty much saying is that the demand outpaced the supply, and therefore lumber prices went up by a factor of nearly 6x. But ladies and gentlemen, what confuses me is this. Have you all seen and or heard the stories and seen the videos of all of these lumber mills and lumber staging areas that had lumber up the wazoo for miles and miles? Isn't that kind of weird that as lumber prices pretty much almost 6x'd in price, there was this overabundance of lumber readily available to be delivered? But this was all due because of the health crisis, of course. I do understand that we did have a shortage, and maybe still do have a shortage in drivers that can deliver this. But the problem was never supply or demand, because obviously throughout the various videos and stories and pictures that citizens have provided, it is obvious that there was a lot of lumber to be had almost all of the time. It continues to say that the lumber futures on the CME are down more than 2% on Thursday. Prices have fallen by 44% since May's record high of over $1,700 per thousand board feet, although prices remain 282% higher than the lows seen in early 2020. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the main part that I want to talk to you about right here. So if you take a look at this chart and you take a look at about the average price of lumber per thousand board feet before the first quarter of 2020, so pretty much before all of this health crisis stuff started, it was probably averaging about $350 per thousand board feet, roughly. And then as you can see, after quarter one, it started going up and it skyrocketed, came back down, skyrocketed, and just kept going up all the way to about 1,700 or so. And now it's coming back down. This is what you have to take a look at. In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, the price of lumber will never come down close to its average. This is the game that they play, ladies and gentlemen. They skyrocket the price of something, and then after it's been sitting there for a little bit, for a few months, whatever it may be, and people are screaming about it, and they're like, I refuse to buy lumber. I'm not going to buy lumber, for 5-6 times more than what I'm used to paying for it. Then they start bringing that price down. But that price, by the time that it settles, it's not going to be anywhere close to what the average price was before. I honestly hope that I am 100% wrong, because we go through a lot of lumber here every year. Every year we have a project, we have to fix something, we need lumber. So I hope that I am 100% wrong, trust me on this. But in my humble opinion, this little line here will never come close to the mean of before this health crisis. Remember the saying, don't let a good crisis go to waste? Well, that's not just for the politicians. That's for corporations and businesses as well. Do you really think that after Costco raised the prices on their paper towels, do you really think that they're going to start offering rolls of paper towels with 160 sheets on them instead of the 140 that they went to for the same price? So effectively here, maybe they did not change the price of the product, but they changed the amount that you get for the same price, which in my opinion, it's the same thing as changing the price. It is just more covert. My question is this: do you really think that after everything is over, let's say we go back to good times, let's say that we don't have a shortage in pulp, let's say that we don't have any kind of a container crisis and everything is working great, do you think, and I'm not picking on Costco, I love Costco, I love going to Costco, one of my very favorite big box stores, right? That's where I get all my stuff in bulk. So I'm not picking on Costco per se, but this will go for anyone. Do you really think that once they increase the prices, especially by the means of shrinkflation, do you think that when the crisis is over, whatever crisis it may be, that they're going to go back to offering you 160 sheets of paper towels for the same price that they were offering you 140? I doubt it. Not just for Costco, but for any other business. Their prices may come down, but they'll never come back down to where they were before. Because that is how inflation works when they do it covertly, without the population really thinking about it. Get those things that you need while you can, because you may find yourselves in a world one day where you may have all of the money that you need, but not be able to find the things that you want to buy with that money. That's the moral of the story. Is it smart to try to play the market a little bit and say, well, maybe let's see if lumber gets down to 800 or 700 so that I can stock up for next year? If you want to take that chance, absolutely go for it. Take that chance. There's nothing wrong with it. All you're doing is shorting a market. But you always have to remember that it can always go the opposite direction as well. However, the significance of me putting this article out is this, is that don't let them fool you. Prices, ladies and gentlemen, are not going to go back down to the levels that they were at before this health crisis started and everyone started putting their prices up. They're not going to go back down. Don't fool yourselves. It says here that last week, lumber's futures fell 18% in the most significant weekly decline since 1986, 1 year before the 1987 stock market crash. Hansen said there are several factors that suggest prices may fall further. Something like lumber has been very much a health crisis-driven spike, adding that sawmill capacity wasn't able to keep up with the supply as people went crazy in their backyards, redoing their houses or buying bigger houses that caused prices to soar. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to take the time to look up the dozens of videos and pictures that have been submitted by citizens showing all of these staging areas for lumber. Obviously, I wasn't there in person to see it. Citizen journalists, in my opinion, are way more important than the ones that make $3 million a year to spew out the things that they are told to tell the public. So I'm going to stick with, sure, there was a shortage, but not a shortage because the lumber wasn't available, but because it was being held from the people in order to fill an agenda of making prices go up as high as they did. In addition to the physical market, speculators such as hedge funds are puking their long positions as prices continue to waterfall, he added. Good. That's good news. You see, ladies and gentlemen, these people in hedge funds and things like that, they don't add any value to society whatsoever. All they do is speculate. They don't care what it is that they're buying or selling. All they're looking at is a chart. So if you hear a bit of joy in my voice when I hear that hedge funds lose money, that's because there is joy in my voice when I hear that hedge funds lose money. Because they add zero value to society. All they do is leech off of people's emotions. Not saying that people shouldn't be responsible for their own actions, but they leech off of people's emotions. These people study charts to be able to determine what emotions take place and when. And that allows them to get in and get out of the market and make a bundle while other people are losing a bundle. So I'll never shed a tear for hearing that hedge funds are losing money. And here to finish it off, ladies and gentlemen, what I just told you, I haven't read this article in full yet, but I just got to the bottom. What I just told you here a minute ago, they kind of go over here. So let's go ahead and finish it off with this last little bit. After the multi-day Federal Open Market Committee meeting, the FOMC, Fed Chair Jerome Powell briefed reporters Wednesday and said inflation would prove to be temporary. Sure, just like the decoupling from the dollar in 1971, as said by President Richard Nixon, was just going to be temporary. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I guess it depends on what temporary means. The thought is that prices like that have moved up really quickly because of shortages and bottlenecks and the like, they should stop going up. At some point, they, in some cases, should actually go down. And we did see that in the case of lumber, Powell said. However, even as lumber prices correct from stratospheric heights, BMO Capital Markets warns that prices may not return to pre-health crisis levels anytime soon. Just what I said, ladies and gentlemen. The prices may come down, but they'll never come back down to where they were before. So stock up while you still can. Look, I talked about a video that I saw about Venezuela here not too long ago, where a gentleman who just started a YouTube channel went into a Venezuelan supermarket. And the supermarket was completely full. I was like flabbergasted. I was like, my goodness, how in the world, are people in Venezuela hungry when, look at all the food in the supermarkets. Well, the problem is that they have the food available, but only to those that can afford it. And ladies and gentlemen, think about it. Our money, what we use as money in the United States, is being devalued at a faster and faster rate every year because they have no choice. The Federal Reserve has absolutely no choice but to continue to print. They're in a catch-22. They can't stop printing, but they need to stop printing. If they continue to print, inflation will keep going higher. The banks are literally asking corporations and businesses to stop depositing money in the bank because they are flooded with cash. Now, wouldn't you think that that's a good thing? That a bank is flooded with cash? Wouldn't you think that's a good thing? Well, not for the banks, it's not. For a bank, cash is a liability, believe it or not. That is a liability for them. It's not an asset. To them, an asset is maybe the title to your mortgage, but not cash. So the Fed keeps printing money to try to help the economy, but then all of that money ends up in the banks, and the banks are flush with money. So they can't keep printing. But if they stop printing, the markets will tank. They are in a catch-22. There's no getting out of this. So don't think that because you see prices coming down a little bit, that they're ever going to come back down to where they were before, and that they're not going to skyrocket even higher when the next crisis arrives. Because there will be a next crisis. It's the only thing they can use to keep us under their control. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in today. Remember that we do have a live stream today at 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And we will have an after party live stream for our Patreon and Ladies and Gentlemen's Club members this evening as well. I hope you've had a great week. Happy Friday to all of you. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper. I am out.